as the title of the live show indicates, Will Ospreay doesn't embrace the grind, bruv. It appears that Triple H was proven right once again. That bald asshole, if you ask Tony Khan, Triple H was right again. And Will Ospreay is set to take a sabbatical from AEW after a hectic schedule.
What did he think was going to happen? That's a 12 to 14-hour flight, depending on where in the country here they are at, for him to fly from Europe. You're going to fly from Europe to the U.S. weekly.
But here's the thing, dude. He's like, oh, no, bruv, I could do the grind and all this shit. And it's like he's flying once a week, if that, first class on a private plane. More than likely one of those two things. He's taking a sabbatical because it's been a hectic schedule from the schedule he was doing before, where he was in, according to him, in Japan and Canada.
Is this confirmed, by the way?
Well, I mean, Ringside News, they do. I mean, he's not here this week. People are fighting for a number one contendership for his belt tonight, right? And Ringside News, I mean, they're dramatic and shit, but they do for the most part like vet their sources. And Fightful Select, it's actually a Fightful Select report that Ospreay's been given the week off following his recent schedule, which included appearances at Double or Nothing, Dynamite, and Collision.
Yep.
So like just a normal like.
Seriously?
Dominic Mysterio does that loop in a weekend. You know, what are you talking about?
Oh, Dom is the hardest working man in sports entertainment.
So he's expected to return last week, but I don't know, man. The embracing the grind, and then Ospreay is just proving Triple H right, like not embracing the grind. I find that hilariously ironic.
When you get Doomsday Device at a Double or Nothing pay-per-view and land right on your head, you're going to need some time off. And so that's what I believe is the theory. Like, it's not a hectic schedule. It's a twig of a neck going on.
Yeah, man. And like he's
oh my god,
you can't do that style all the time. And he just won the gauntlet, and I don't know, man. And I'm not saying
Punk gave them the blueprint.
What's that?
That's what it was. Punk gave them the blueprint that this man will, if he likes you or if he fanboys for you, you literally can get away with it. You know what he's the unattractive rich girl that somehow always pulls the suitors, then they never have to spend time with her, and she pays for everything so they can hang out with whoever they actually want to hang out with, and when they need something, they'll send the Cash App, and knowing the money will be there plus more. Mm-hmm. You're using the Jags jet more than likely. He's probably being treated better than the Jags are, or their football club. And what? Oh, I don't want to get on a private jet to do 3 shows, because even he sees this probably isn't worth it. When how long is he under contract? Because when it's over,
it's like 8 years, something like that.
8 years. Oh my God. Well, does he have an option? Because Mercedes has an option.
I don't. I know that Tony always does the 1 or 2 year option, but I think that's more for people who sign the shorter term deals. I think he gives the 1 year option or whatever. And then the longer ones, like I've just heard he signed people up for 7-8 years, like MJF, like I think FTR took a 7-year deal or something like that.
A Legends deal?
Jericho took like a 10-year one. Yeah, I believe Ospreay took an 8-year one. Hectic schedule, LOL. Wow, so hard. The grind. Yeah, John, I would love to take a private jet all over. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of flying, I guess. It's not my favorite thing, especially being a taller dude. So first class or in a private jet would be awesome because you have that leg room. I don't know, man. It's just hilarious how it seems like time and time again, people like AEW goes out of its way to prove everyone right. And especially when Ospreay's like, I'm just going to stop talking about it, bro. I'm the best in the world and I do grind. And then he just kept talking about it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he takes a sabbatical because of the hectic schedule. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just so funny.
AEW is like a curse. Like it's like a curse that happens to you. Like if you say that we're the best wrestle, or you can do the grind, the very next week within 7 to 14 days, like you end up eating your words. You break your tibia, or you crack your neck on a Doomsday Device. But see, that's the thing. You don't want to. But that's the thing, Phil. Marty, you don't want to tell anybody that this guy's got a hurt neck. You'd rather say this and say that he's taking a sabbatical. That way it looks like, okay, Will Ospreay, he kind of looks dumb saying it and doing it. But at the same time, it's just like, okay, he's not on the injury list. But I think he's on the injury list.
Yeah, that's what the word is.
And they think that that's a better option. That's what floors me.
Yeah.
Injury is understandable completely. Benefit of the doubt. It happens. Everybody understands that there's risks in the business. But to say a sabbatical, you just made him look like a bitch in front of everybody.
I know, dude. And the thing in AEW too. The thing in AEW too is that when people don't wrestle, I brought it up on the show before, but like, when you see Statlander on TV, but she ain't been wrestling for like 3 months or 4 months, and you're like, why isn't she at a match? It's because they're hurt and they just don't say anything. You know what I mean? So AEW does do a lot of that. According to Nash, tall people are allowed to pee in the sink on planes. I wish, bruv. that is a myth. That's a joke, sir. That ain't true. Here's a funny meme I saw 4 years ago. Jericho is the demo god and Dynamite is going to beat Raw in the ratings within a year. Tony studies the ratings and is a numbers guy, so he knows what he's doing. Just look at us outdrawing NXT today. Only losers care about ratings. Get a life, people. I thought that was funny. I just wanted to bring that to the show.
Movement.
Show.
He got thrown into
We're like sitting here watching in awe, like, this is horrible. This is atrocious. Now, see,
and so MJF, like earlier, not to interrupt you there, but we were talking about like, yeah, he's a triple MJF in the opening segment. He's in the leather jacket, da. Well, he went to Sports Illustrated and he admitted, dude, I thought it was somewhat of a coincidence, and I don't know. Now I'm getting
into a mark.
I'm getting into
that was coincidence.
Well, I didn't think it was like, okay, I don't know. Listen, man, he comes out and goes, the jean jacket was over what I feel is my leather jacket, but the jean jacket was certainly an homage to a return that meant something to me when I was a kid in Madison Square Garden. I'm sure people can connect the dots. Like we did, but the fact he just comes out and says it makes it like it's just like cosplay. Like, here's the thing. AEW, they do this shit so much. I'm in a debate on X with people going like, well, it's not cosplay. If he came out and spit water in the air and did Triple H's video game taunts, then it's cosplay. It's like, no, if I dress up like Iron Man, that's cosplay, bro. I don't give a shit. I don't have to start going, I am Iron Man and doing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to start that. Like, I don't have to do Iron Man taunts to make it.
If it's not cosplay, it's live action role play. How about that?
Well,
there we go.
They're just
Is
like,
he LARPing?
It's an homage, though.
Yeah.
It's an homage, and like I'm not trying to hate on pain. And they're like, wrestlers do it all the time, and I'm just like, dude, he literally dressed like Triple H, and then brought up Vince McMahon, and then said it was his return during when Triple H had a return. That's not homage like CM Punk wearing pink and black, an homage to Bret Hart,
which was fire, by the way.
Yeah, and it's not like when CM Punk tagged with Sting, and then he wore Sting face paint and like Sting tights. That's like he's literally Sting tagging with Sting. So like that's sort of an homage. That's not so much cosplay as
there's nothing subtle going on.
It's happened time and again. Like Jericho and Guevara dressed up like Jericho and HBK, and then did the finish or like the afterbirth of the HBK Jericho WrestleMania match where Guevara bagged Jericho instead of. You remember at WrestleMania where Jericho bagged HBK. So they literally dressed like WWE wrestlers and then did a WWE WrestleMania afterbirth thing. Like to me, that's where we cross over in a fucking cosplay. Like when Eddie Kingston and Claudio come out and they're dressed like the All Japan dudes, and then they do the finish from the All Japan match. Like, I'm sorry, to me, we're going into cosplay territory here at this point. And then for MJF to do that and then make a Vince McMahon reference in that promo and then come out to Sports Illustrated and go, yeah, you can connect the dots. I dressed like him kind of thing. It's just like, God damn, man. He either is really kissing ass on his way out or like, I don't know. I don't think he's on his way
what he's doing.
AEW, but
it's smart business. So what he's doing is you're not burning a bridge, because then you can say whatever you want, because then it's just shtick, and that literally is like 60% of his shtick. But it's also, hey, it's kind of like when Cody smashed the throne. It's like, hey, I'm going to take these shots because it's my gimmick, and I'm going to make it so obvious and corny that it's my gimmick. But I'm also paying respect, because if this guy pisses me off or when this contract is up, I'm going to have a WrestleMania match like I've always wanted, like everybody on any roster has always wanted. You know what I mean? He's kind of keeping one toe in. in a sense. It's like, I'm not gonna degrade it and just be completely crazy about it. I'm gonna do this because I know it gets headlines, even though it brings headlines to the competition, and it's also going to leave me in good standing. So when I ask for more money, I'm gonna get it. And then I guess the whole cosplay thing, it's like, all right.
But doesn't that kind of betray his contract length? I mean, if you're going to be there for the next, how long is he going to be here for?
You said 8 years?
I think it's like
I think that there's an option. Then yeah, you can't tell me there's no option.
MJF will be there for I think another 5. Like I think it was like 2 years ago he signed like a 7 or 8 year deal. Now this is all just what I've heard and so don't like I'm not reporting
there's
the
an
news
option.
here. Yeah,
there's an option.
Yeah.
If he's doing all that, there's an option.
Even still, why dress up like the man? I had an issue with it the very first time I saw it. I think you and I talked about it, Phil. Like you shouldn't have did it. Especially now that we both know that he's going to be there for at least another 3 to 5 years. So you paid homage to a guy on your first day back, and you've got 5 years to go. Like just sink into a new character, sink into what you're going to be doing. Don't try to pay homage to the guy.
They book week to week.
The rumors are too, that MJF is allegedly making $15 million per year with AEW. Now this is complete cap. It might be 15 million total over like the
why not? Okada's getting 13.5 million. That's
over
confirmed.
How many years?
Over how many years?
A year for like I think 3 years.
13 million 3 years though. I could see that for 3 years. That seems like similar to what Mercedes is getting. I'm so sorry. I'm
so sorry. It's 4.5 million a year.
Yeah, so I could see MJF
getting 13.5.
Yeah, I could see MJF getting like 5 million a year, 4 million. Like I could see Tony locking him in for a few million a year for sure.
Under 6 for sure.
See that. Yeah,
these guys don't deserve that kind of money.
I know. I'm just saying
because if he leaves. It's just like when Punk left. If he loses MJF, because here's the thing: when Adam Cole's deal is up, he's going back. Like you can't not convince me he's not going to go back, especially with the guys that pushed him up to the top and made him look amazing. You know, Triple H and Shawn.
Sure,
he's totally going back. He's definitely going back, and when he does, it's going to set everything on fire in the best way possible. MJF, Marty, if he's doing this, I think he has an option.
Marty, I got a question. Sure. Is it worth bringing back Adam Cole when the machine rolls on, and when his contract is up with AEW, he comes back to guys like Braun Breaker. He comes back to guys like boy, I'm getting a brain fart, but
Trick Williams. Here's the thing too, is that Adam Cole's contract's been frozen. Has been frozen during his injury time too.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I'm saying, bringing him back. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're going to bring him back for like astronomical money. But the fact that they'll be able to figure out some way, because it's wrestling and it always comes back around, that Undisputed Era merch, and when that theme comes back up, they're going to be printing money for at least a year and a half, depending on the storytelling. Just from a business aspect, it's a good rate because I'm sure Tony's giving him good money. But is it anywhere near like along the lines of what all the other top stars are getting, especially because he's been injury prone? I think they'll bring him back in NXT to let him kind of take that back over, and then he'll get to the main roster. Like
make him the general manager. Make him a manager or general manager.
Shave his head bald.
Yeah, didn't they want to make him a manager on the main roster?
That's why he left. And now he's a manager here. Like I don't.
We're gonna shave his head bald and stick him with Bailey.
You see what it did for LA Knight? It actually, in a way, ironically, what it did for LA Knight is it made the fan base so annoyed and so pissed off that when they let him be himself, I think it kind of helped.
Would WWE want these guys back after Tony Khan's booking? Tony kills talent. Round of applause. Thank you for the shoot.
Yes, I believe so. I believe so.
Marty and Awful sort of answered that for you, but sorry, Marty, go ahead.
No, I'm saying I believe that just because, we've seen what they did with Jade. We've seen what they did with Punk, which was like, I wouldn't even say that because Punk did what he could while he was there, despite.
Both Jade and Punk transcended their presence on that show. The show, thank God, did not drag those two down. Like you saw Jade Cargill, and I guarantee you, I know I wasn't the only one. I saw Jade Cargill on AEW, and I was just like, "What is she doing here?
Yeah,
why is she not in WWE?" Like very first thought. Same thing with Punk. It's just like, okay, it's only a matter of time. It may never happen, but at the time. But yeah, man, there's nobody else there's nobody else coming through the screen at you. MJF proved that tonight. Like, yeah, he's not coming through the screen anymore. He's just another guy.
Yeah, I think Cole could do that if he has the right people around him, and I think if it all comes down to timing, because I don't think O'Reilly and Fish is definitely not doing anything. I don't think O'Reilly has anything that's going to keep him super locked for long term.
Nah.
I think if he has the right people around him, and they're able to kind of bring that back, it's kind of like when they did the Shield reunion, like one of the two of the three times that they did it. Like it kind of meant something more towards the end. I think, like, I don't see it being anything long term, and I don't see him like, with a ceiling like Braun Breaker or even like a Trick or even a Melo, or like a Melo or any of those guys. But I feel like what NXT is doing now and where they're building it, I think it's already a respectable option. I think with time and the way that they're pushing up talent more so now, instead of guys coming in, stopping in NXT and then going to the main roster, they're building more organic stars. So I feel like if they bring Cole back there, it helps. One, you can tell great matches, because I think when he has the right people around him, those were his best matches, period. And then it also kept him, out of injury trouble, or he was least likely to get injured. They'll be able to bring him there and let him run NXT. And then if he gets a decent run on the main roster, then cool. It's not going to hurt them too much, because they're not going to break the bank for it, but they will make bank for it with being able to reinstate all that old merch.
I could see them bringing back Undisputed Era for sure, because they were Triple H HBK guys, and I could see Samoa Joe going back like fucking. Oh, speaking of which,
100%.
So Mark Briscoe won that match, by the way, and then Jack Perry got on the screen and is talking shit to him, and I think we're going to get Jack Perry versus Mark Briscoe down the line, I guess. And then we have Hook and Samoa Joe. So Samoa Joe is just their world champion. Now he's just in a tag team with Hook randomly.
Hook needs the help. Hook needs the help.
Yeah, but I like the Joe Hook pairing. It's kind of like it makes
he's pairing
sense
with his dad in a way.
Yeah, it's like it makes sense. Like it's like Big Bro trying to teach him, like, yeah, I was like you, and like they both choke people out. So I like that. Joe makes it work. If they didn't do so much dumb shit with Hook, I'd have more faith in him. We know Hook's going to NXT one day. I pray to God Joe's going back to WWE one day, because Triple H loved Joe, and he'd use him.
Give it time.
He'd be in the main event picture right away. And then Mark Briscoe, so he's just going to feud Jack Perry over his Ring of Honor belt. Like they're going to just give Jack Perry a Ring of Honor belt so he can walk around with a belt, or I don't know, man. That shit's all cringe. The Perry shit and all of that fell off hard. Oh, Jack Perry's hot. He sold some shirts. He's blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's great. That ain't going to last a long time, though. There's no longevity in being the guy that Punk choked out, unless you really bring Punk in and there's some way to capitalize on it. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, well, that was kind of cool for a second, and who gives a shit? You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay, but do you understand, like, okay, so you can see how it's kind of like the parallels of it are kind of crazy, because we just seen them on screen. Like we saw Perry and we saw Hook. They're pushing. Nobody believed any of the Perry shit, and I don't even think that's 100% his fault. I just think that with the credibility and the seriousness of Hook, that's what they wanted us to like feel and see in Perry. And Hook has the seriousness and has the skill set. Well, even though it's getting better, like currently has an impressive skill set. He has the presence. He has all the potential, but doesn't have the booking. It seems like they did that when they had the streak and he wasn't talking, but it was hurting him because there was no personality in there with it to progress with his ring work. And it's just funny to me because they want Perry to be Hook so bad, or to be respected like Hook so bad. It's just like, no, give Hook Perry's booking and then just keep Perry and put him in Ring of Honor or something. I don't know. It's not a thing to me.
I think, speaking of testing free agency and NXT and potential people who could leave AEW, Tony Khan goes on CBS and says, this is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'd play a flute, but those are for Meltzer. So Tony Khan goes, I think Ricky Starks is tremendous. I'd love to get him involved and back in AEW anytime. He's been a huge part of what we've done here for about 4 out of the 5 years, and tons of respect. First off, like, you don't need to break down 4 out of the 5 years. You can just say he's been a huge part of, when I say Sting's a huge part of WCW, I don't break down how many years it was. But also Ricky Starks, man, like Tony Khan, you're the booker. You're the guy who says whether he's back in AEW. Ricky Starks was just getting mad at people on social media for assuming he was injured and all of this shit. He's had to fly to places like Jacksonville to not even be used and stuff like that. He said it openly. And for Tony Khan to go, oh, he's great, and I'd love to get him involved and back in AEW anytime. Well, then why don't you book him? Why wasn't he in the gauntlet? Where the fuck has he been? Why did you just give his tag partner, Big Bill, to Jericho randomly and not explain Ricky Starks in any of it? It's the dumbest thing ever. Tony Khan is lousy, and I'll just leave it at that.
Dummy, yeah.
Awful. What do you think about these comments from Tony Khan?
It's the same kind of. First off, I think he's going through some sort of like negotiation with Ricky Starks. I don't know. I mean, it just sounds like some sort of jargon that you would say when you're in the middle of negotiating. I'd love for him to come back and blah, 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 blah. Or maybe his contract's up. I'm not really sure. But either way, Tony Khan says too much. He talks too much. He doesn't have to be on CBS radio.